I am entrepreneur, and I will speak about now how to raise money from Eastern Europe. And I will use different examples. So all of the things which I will speak now is like real life, and I will go through with different examples. So because fundraising is fucking hard. It's super hard, so in this sense, I like all of those space stuff and, intelligence and so on. The problem with those, the thing is that it's so hard to convince investors that you're into that you have some real good stuff and, you will be successful. So my experience is mainly for this boring stuff, when you actually have to make money from first day one. But good news is that then you actually can fundraise and you are not depending too much from the investors. So anyway, let me see how this is working now, because I don't even know is it the right one. So yeah, I am happy to be from Estonia because this is not a country. This is a big park. We have just 1.3 million people. This is like, I don't know, I have been in Sao Paulo many times. In Sao Paulo, this is 1/4, Sao Paulo has 20 million. This is the biggest city in Brazil. So in Estonia, why we are happy, we have to go out from first day one because there is no clients. Okay, we have done Skype. High five for that, But we have always depending, going out and finding real money from Europe, from Silicon Valley, and so on. So I will briefly go through my experience, and you would understand why I'm speaking those things. So first, Garage 48, which I started 6 years ago. This is hackathon. So we have done more than 60 events in 10 plus countries, also in Russia, by the way, in Kaliningrad, St. Petersburg. How many people know Masquerade? Please raise hands. So this was started in my event in end of the November. And I will talk about it later a bit more brief, because everybody know it was sold, but there are backstory, how it really happened. So it's a very interesting story. And basically we have been going around doing events. So I have seen many great things starting and just going down immediately. But 6 years ago, I also started my very successful startup, which is Pipedrive. Do we have any users here? Thank you guys. So we have now clients in 155 different countries. So we are doing very boring shit, basically. CRM. But good news is that companies need that. And today we have 30,000 paid companies worldwide. And basically a year ago, if this clicker is working again, and if not, maybe the pattern is not so good. Anyway, so a year ago, we were just as a best B2B startup from Europe. And P2B is really area, by the way, the one trend which also Marvin maybe touched, but I think that there are so many practical things which is still broken. I know one startup from Odessa, Riedel. How many people know them? You know, not too many. But they are doing iOS applications. Very practical thing, like scanner. You just, in your mobile phone, you just scan it. And what's cool with them, they have today 80 people. They are profitable, never have raised any money. And guys, I am strongly believing into the things that if you're doing mobile thing, you have to also decide one thing in the beginning. Are you doing just application? Are you building company? That's so different things. Because if you are building company, you should think about how to make money from the first day on. Then you don't depend on investors, because it's so hard to go and ask money. If you are having real revenue, they will go and find you. And you can choose in what conditions you can raise money. The problem is that the best money is always in Silicon Valley. So whatever, I have traveled so many countries, I have heard horror stories about Russian investors and Ukrainian investors and even Estonian investors. You know, in Silicon Valley, investors who are smart, they don't wanna they really understand the basics. But if you're taking money, and my first startup failed because I made totally wrong decision to taking dump money into company. Because you don't actually want to have money, you wanna have know-how. So in just one slide, this is my company history. And usually if you need just one slide for the fundraising, this is what you need. Because people just wanna see how fast you are growing. Is it like in mobile, downloads, users? But better and better is revenue, real money. Because what has lately changed, which I feel more and more, is that because of this financial markets are going up and down, the funding is in the pressure now. So like usually what you can do, you can ask like, let's say you have all the revenue. Let's say you have like 1 million run rate. You grow monthly, 7-8%. So lately you can ask like 10x as a valuation. So if you do 1 million in annually, you can say our like whatever startup valuation is 10 million. If you are getting 10x, what has happened now is that this 10x has gone somewhere into the 5 or 6 now. Because like all of those unicorns or whatever corns, you know, they have been being so aggressively having funding said this is almost like this funding cycle has been like a little bit going to the cycle when the people are really cutting down valuations. And yeah, like just last thing about Partners that yeah, we are very actively in also Google Play, and you know that's the other trend, you know. All big companies need to go and being active in mobile. And there's no any other way, but still for me it's more and more. There is no difference. Are you doing startup or mobile startup? It's still startup. You just need to play with the same rules. And it's so much harder actually to have funding for the mobile startup. So I will now talk about the Masquerade story because this is a thing which has been so much talked, but I have still some details. So I'm visiting quite often Odessa, and kind of like interesting stories that I know also founder of Luxury, which was bought in 2000, last year in September. And this was one thing how Masquerade actually got the idea, by the way. Because Masquerade guys was looking it, and the main guy, Eugene, by the way, he's the CEO of Masquerade, he was attending in 5-hour events in Belarus, every hackathon. And his last startup was Split Metrics, which is just A/B testing for the App Store. And you know, he was going around and asking money, and he got some funding, 100,000, because it's still so hard if you are placed in Eastern Europe. But he got the idea that, you know, like he knows his friend Sergey long time, and this Sergey knows how to do some great stuff in the video editing and so on. So they just was going to the hackathon to make a fun. And yeah, like history happened. They won the event. And those things happen so rarely. So only reason why I'm talking about Masquerade is that you should understand one thing clearly. Masquerade kind of startup happens 1 out of million. And you cannot rely on that success. I will later talk about Tesla, which is the much better example how you do funding and how you grow. But I will just go through so that you would understand why this is so different story. So, okay, they won the event, and why they was good, that they basically launched the application 2 weeks after the event, mid of December. And it was about the timing. Video is so cool, and there are more and more things what you can do in the video. They launched in the mid of December. This was the first time I was so close to invest, but I was in Asia, so I just didn't have time to do all of the shit and so on. But they launched it. They basically, because the guy who was the CEO, he had already connection with the investors. So as they started to grow very fast, like they was growing like, they had like 1 million downloads 1 month later, end of the January. And 1 million is the so minimum, like if you do mobile startup. I think that I could most likely say that today, if you don't have like 5-10 million, you can't get a round in the mobile. Marvin can most likely correct me, but I have that kind of feelings that, you know, like million is if you're getting million 1 month, you can get indeed. But if you're getting into the 1 million is like year or so, then it's not so good. The main thing what investors are looking, I will repeating is, how fast you are growing. And these guys was going crazy. But it was indeed a great team, amazing team, timing, luck. Just other lucky thing happened. Okay, they got the investor in who did know them already. But in the middle of February, they was in Jimmy Kimmel TV show. And they got like 15 million end of the February. And come on, guys, if you're growing so fast, Silicon Valley guys will pay attention. So they was indeed, like basically, they had actually 3 offers, which maybe not too many people know, because not only Facebook, but also Apple and Snapchat wanted to buy them. And what was the reason? So let's look this chart now. This is very good thing what's happening in the market now. So this is how many downloads big players have. And you see where is masquerade already? End of the first quarter. And you look, this is the iOS. So if you compare it, this is similar to the Snapchat, by the way. It's because they opened Android in the, I think that in the last week of February. So this was the one-time story. And like big players, Snapchat especially, or Facebook is so afraid about Snapchat. They wanted to buy them, no luck. But now they needed to jump in because they are afraid to losing young audience. So that's why they needed to step in. This is the chart basically. Like, okay, they just came in quite much, but Skype is still there, oh my God, I'm just surprised. But came in, but this is very interesting chart. And you see how many small startups are here. Basically the only one after gaming is the masquerade. But the question is, can you really be there? You are like against the one out of million. So I would still so I will go into that other story. I have been helping one B2B startup from the first day on, which is testing, mobile app testing. It's much harder, it's much more boring, And they really suffered like first years, this is when they finished Techstars in Austin, so we had the drinks, we didn't have any money yet, and so on. But what is cool with that startup is that they are going into the real problem. Because if there are so many mobile companies and mobile applications, the testing is bigger and bigger problem. How many Android things around? Zillion. How you can test them if you have especially let's think about those big companies like Microsoft, which has been heavily, by the way, buying mobile startups. Like Wunderlist was bought and so on. But still, you buy and the testing is so hard. But the testing itself is actually making really big difference. Because to getting 5-star rating, this needs to work. So there's so many broken applications inside the App Store and so on, which have less than 100 downloads and so on. So in this sense, these guys are going into the real problem, testing. And again, 2 founders, one of them worked forever in mobile testing, other one was engineer. And now I will show, because they just raised 6.2 million, announced it in the January. Actually, they was announcing it in just a few weeks ago, but they closed the round in the lowest point of the market in January, because January was very afraid. The US stock market was so down, and VCs was like, yes, we will cut valuations now at least half. This is the real thing, by the way, because in last 6 years, I have talked with hundreds of investors. And one thing which I have learned, come on, they want to make money. If they can, they will give you so bad offers. Honestly, because they have to make money. You have to be sure that you can turn them down. You can say, no, I don't need your money. Because funding is about momentum. If they feel that they will get if they feel that if they are late, they don't get you, then that's the right moment. So basically, this is which was in the Tesla funding deck. Again, this is how they are growing by revenue. Because they focused how to make money, and they basically have been doing one thing, that they have team in Estonia, they have hundreds of testers around the world, because they're using freelancers, they're building platform, connecting freelance testers with companies. This is what they're doing. But they have basically office also in San Francisco. And they raised actually like first seed round in the January 2015. Oh my God, it was so hard again. It took like 6 months to close that one because they was not profitable. But as they got very great sales guys, then last 14 months, actually 15, they have been profitable. They didn't use any money. Actually, I mean that they was profitable, that they raised 1 million seed round, but they didn't like basically used it because it was all every time just hitting bigger and bigger like revenue. And in October, they had a momentum, like they was growing more than 10%, actually 15% every month by revenue. And this moment they was going out, and it took like 2 months to close the funding, which is very fast. Because everybody was afraid that, oh my God, if we will not give money now, these guys will just, just basically grow out of the floor. The same thing with Masquerade. Everybody was afraid that they will, basically, other option what Masquerade had was really to doing huge fundraising in Silicon Valley. The problem was that Sergey and the team was very young. Sergey and Eugenia, 23 years old. They are living in Belarus. It's still very hard to build company from Belarus. And even getting visa is challenging. Come on, guys. Okay, we Estonians are lucky. Like, we can go to US and say, like, hello, like, we are friends and so on. But that's why I think that was selling, because they understood that you need to compete with Snapchat, basically. And you need to hire and hiring other things. But anyway, so that's the thing what you need for the fundraising. Like, if you are not having traction yet, then you should go to the 500 startups. I think it's one of the best in Silicon Valley, to some accelerators. But having angel funding without product, so hard. Like, I know all of the science stuff is great, but it's so hard to fundraise. I have seen so many great ideas going down because they didn't have still revenue, and they was fully depending on investors' money per and every month. Especially if you're from Eastern Europe. So one thing which I have learned, is like build company here, but sell it in US. Because come on, in Russia, in Estonia, in Ukraine, and so on, you can build a great team. You don't need to compete with Facebook and Google, who will steal your engineers. But your market is not here. You should go immediately having some office or spend time or live in Silicon Valley. Because like, I have talked with so many investors, and even for us, we have always getting much better term sheets from Silicon Valley, much better. Not only about know-how, but valuation as well. But you need to have some presence in Silicon Valley. And I'm just repeating once more, like in mobile, you need to decide, are you building company or application? Because building company, you need to have longer vision and plan. Masquerade, by the way, has a vision, which is surprising, because they feel that they can use this thing which have built, even for the hospitals. Like, let's say you want to go to some operation, and they can show how your face will look like if they do whatever, like magic, sir. So this face swapping thing can have actually practical solution, and this was their idea. Other thing which like potentially like I have seen more and more is like the problem with mobile startups that everybody asking how you will do exit. Like, even Tesla says, many VCs said, we don't see that you can grow more than, that your valuation will be more than 100 million. This is fine with 500, but many VCs are looking, can you grow into the 1 billion? And they will, if you do usual startup, like other type of startup, people don't ask so much about exit, but in mobile they're asking, what's the longer vision, how you can grow, because they want to get money in, minimum 10x. They want to at least have company growing 10, 20 or more times. How big is market? How this thing idea, what you have done, can grow into the huge thing? They are actively asking that. If they don't believe that, they just don't, best investors, we will not invest. They're just looking, can this guy just, you know, be a hockey stick? So, and yeah, like, you know, end of the day, what is really, really important is traction. How fast you are growing, that's it. One KPI, month per month grow. So you should bootstrap as much you can if you're here. I mean, come on guys, like, you never can almost start Twitter, Snapchat from Eastern Europe. It's close to impossible. Because you will have to get best investors from day one in who are ready to give you money all the time when you're burning money. Like, I think that Instagram is doing now revenue, but they didn't like do it like first 4 years. But this market story is great, but it's so impossible and you have chance so low to do it. So anyway, this was my view from the practical entrepreneur, and I'm ready to, если хотите, мы можем, есть вопросы тоже на русском даже. Do we have questions?
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm really fan of your CRM, of your Pipedrive.
Thank you.
Yeah, because really we have all, you know, it's classical stuff. Everyone has kind of, I don't know, Microsoft CRM or something, and we put it over, and I really have fun every day using it. It's true. It's absolutely. Please add some statistics to the mobile version. That's interesting, because if you talk to people, yeah, kind of, I'm managing salespeople. When you talk to them, you have to bring your computer with it, like, because we're standing. Thank you so much for the presentation. And the question, if I'm already making money, do I really need like investors? If it's great, if it's you see a revenue stream, and you're growing 10 times and everything is fantastic, why do you really need to go and sell your company? Because it's the most expensive way of funding.
By the way, you don't need, that's a very great question. You don't need investors, by the way. Because like, we have been always like, why Partnerы was getting investors? Because we didn't know how to grow company to international level. That's why we got the investors, that they can teach us how we can grow to the 160 countries. So you actually don't need money usually. But what we really looked is know-how. How we can compete with our competitors. Because at the end of the day, you are today successful. How you can be successful tomorrow and day after. Because I love companies who are not fundraising. But you need to understand that your idea would be copied immediately. Like, Partner was copied 3 years ago in Russia like that. So we have a Russian clone, which was copying even our front end. So you can go and, let's open front end and look code, and so it was Estonian words, and it was like, no, we didn't copy, just our designer did it. Yes, indeed, he can speak Estonian. Okay, but you're not afraid of those idiots, sorry to say. But let's say if somebody exactly from Siberia or Ukraine will do the similar thing, or from ex-Google engineers. So why we have done funding is because we want to build huge company. But you can, and believe me, investors will change everything in your company, everything. Because they want to sell your company. This is how they make money. There are very rare cases that somebody has took funding and buying back investors. That's not easy to do. So exactly, you should decide what you want to do. You can be very happy. Nobody's beating you because investors are very aggressive. Say every month when we have board meetings asking why you don't do this and so, because they want to like grow company. But yeah, it's true story. Many times you don't need, and many times your company is not even fit for the VC funding.